The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, I'll call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting for October 20th, 2020. And the first item of agenda tonight is roll call.
Miller,
Here.
Rosado,
Here.
Beck,
Here.
Knopf,
Here.
Hanson,
Here.
Barron, here, Wolf,
Here.
O'Brien,
Here.
Callahan,
Here.
Meitzler,
Here.
Malay,
Here.
Ewer, Cerrone,
Here.
and McFadden.
I'm here.
McFadden,
I'm here. Just having a hard time finding the mute button.
I have 13 out of 14.
Okay, I know that Alderman Ewer sent a message earlier today that he would probably not be able to be here. Okay, next up then would be a reminder to speak directly into your microphone and also a reminder to mute when you are not talking so we don't get any feedback. Next up would be item number 3, items to be removed, added, or changed. Do we have anything tonight?
No, we don't.
Okay, and we will move on to matters from the public. Do we have anybody registered or on tonight that wants to talk from the public?
We have no members of the public.
Okay, then we will move right into the consent agenda. Alderman Chancet, are you here?
Yes, indeed. So all we have on the consent agenda tonight are executive session minutes for Cal. That is for August 4th, August 25th, and September 1st of this year. So I would move that we approve those.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Tanzit,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Callahan,
Aye.
Meitzler,
Aye.
Malay,
Aye.
Ewer, Saron,
Aye.
McFadden,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Rosado,
Aye.
Beck,
Aye.
and Knopf.
Aye.
Motion carried 13-0.
All right, thank you. Next up would be item number 6, request for an approval of a request from Suncast to install 1,230 kilowatt photovoltaic system at their 1801 Suncast Lane facility. Alderman O'Brien?
Thank you, Alan. So like you said, Suncast submitted this application for the photovoltaic system. It's a lot of power that they are going to be generating. We do have an ordinance only for residential and commercial. They're an industrial user. So, you know, the issue is coming down to, do we want to grant them this application and give them permission to go ahead and install this? You know, it's a lot of power that the city will not be selling. We already are in excess of our needs as it is now. So, you know, the memo has the pros and cons too. And so I'll just leave it to everyone to voice their opinion. Does anyone have any comments or concerns? Anyone else?
Mike? This is
Yes.
Alan. I guess I look at this, and this is quite a bit of, if we were to stick with our ordinance on what we said we would allow, find the number here, that we would allow, how many kilowatts we would allow to be used, 2% of the system. And that's like 1,760 would be that number. So, you know, that eats up a large portion of the available system. If we were to allow residences to use it, you wouldn't be able to get a whole lot more residences on there. So I don't know if there's any way we can ask them to do a portion of that, or if they're just set on going that size. I don't know if staff can answer that for us.
This is Gary. If everyone can hear me, I'll jump in.
Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
They had originally proposed a system about 5.5 times this size.
Oh, really?
Yes, we were the ones who said we cannot support anything more than this size at an absolute maximum, because at least this size still allows for some remote capacity. Obviously, if they were 5 times this size, it would way over the limit.
So, anyone else?
Mike, I have a question. Tony here. Recently, Suncast in their an expansion, we provided significantly more power to them. Gary, how much more did they expand in terms of kilowatts?
I don't know that I have that off the top of my head, Alderman. That was the 1801 Suncast Lane site. They added 3 more services up there, and Laura probably will comment tonight that they're proposing to add more services because they're proposing an expansion. But unfortunately, I don't have that specific number from a couple of years ago. It's been 2 years, I think, at least now, maybe 3 years since they last expanded, but I just don't have that number off the top of my head.
Yeah, I just brought back a memory of that because I thought we gave some assistance in providing more power to them, or did they put the full bill for that expansion?
No, that was back when the state of Illinois had given them roughly $7.5 million that passed through our books. And then we also, that was an expansion of their market rate ordinance. They got market rates for the additional power. So you were correct.
So, one
Hi,
more
this is
question,
Peggy.
Mike.
I was just going to add to that, we did give Suncast some more incentives. We are rebating their permit for the expansion over 5 years. And we've just made the third payment on that.
So we've been
And that
pretty
was about
good.
320,000. And that's all market power at Suncast Lane. They are not on our bundled rates there.
So all they're paying is administration fees, correct?
And they do pay a demand charge.
Yes, demand
Go
charge.
towards the capital infrastructure.
Okay.
Was it
But
300,000?
it's a discounted rate.
Was it 300,000 just the recent payment or? a
No,
portion?
that was the total for that permit.
Okay.
So, with that, them being an industrial user and the large portion, I was speaking with Laura today about that, and they are gonna bring to Batavia 800 jobs. And I was also speaking with Gary today, and it's kind of upsetting to give this to them, but they are bringing a lot of jobs to the city. They are a responsible corporate entity in our town. And so we should try to work with them and keep them in our town. But Gary had an idea. We spoke, and in our ordinance, if people go and they are net producers, if a homeowner is a net producer, we pay them for that excess generation power that they've generated. And we do it with, we don't just give them cash right out, but we kind of do it just we put it on a future request. But with this such a large amount of generation, we're thinking maybe writing something in the ordinance to say we don't, if they're net generating, we don't pay them anything. They just, whatever they don't use, that just goes away. That just gets lost. We're not gonna give them any money since they're not using all that power that we're providing. Does that make sense to everyone? Did I say that clear enough, Gary?
Yeah, you said that perfectly, actually. Recommendation, given that this is intended to be a small scale photovoltaic ordinance, I think the intention would be that, say, system size is in excess of 100 kilowatt, 100, which is still larger than any system we have today. That any system larger than that would not receive any credit back for the excess energy that they produce. So they could offset all their own use, but they can't get credit back for pushing energy back out to the system.
Right.
I would be totally in favor of doing that. I'd also wonder if they're going to increase or, expand, would the amount that they would normally be buying, would that be offset by what their expansion is going to be? I mean, in their total overall power usage?
Laura asked that question today too, and we don't have information on their expansion yet to tell you what their proposed use is going to be.
Okay.
That's part of what they're going through right now is that process, and we're meeting with them to kind of talk about the scope.
Okay.
That's what the same question Laura asked, and it is certain that they're going to expand because they're asking for additional electric services. Quite possible that what they expand is going to be offset by this solar, and then in the net, we're not going to see any reduction. Or I just can't. I don't know how that math works out. But yes, there is an expansion, and yes, there will be solar.
Because I'd like to know what that would be. I mean, I have no problem with the company trying to, be better on the green side of things and, produce electricity for themselves. But I'd also like to know if we're going to be at a net loss or net gain after they do their expansion.
We'll have to inquire to find that out. They haven't revealed that to us yet.
Okay.
So maybe you can bring that back to us, Gary, after you meet with them and speak with them.
Sure.
So, but I'm in favor of approving this, but we have to, as I said, write the ordinance, so we're not going to be paying them for power. We don't want to do that. And we don't want we don't want to give them any credits for the future power either. What they don't use, they lose. I don't know, how's everyone feel about that? Anyone have any objections to that?
No, that makes sense.
I definitely think we should put a cap on what can be bought back. I like that idea. This is a tricky one. We want to be environmental and promote good environment, but we're on the hook. But also, there's, I'm sure you've all noticed that enormous warehouse that they built on right off Fabian there, which is in West Chicago. They could, I think they would be on ComEd over there. Might not have the issue if we were to make issue with it, but I think it's important to know where we stand on the net gain piece, the net gain or net loss. And that's kind of why I asked the question, if they're, if we just helped them out and to get expanded power and then they're turning around and going to replace it with solar, I'd have a problem with that, but I'd like to see those numbers.
Are there any surrounding communities that have caps on their net metering like this? Do we know of?
Not that
Yes,
I
I
know
know
of.
that from St. Charles's ordinance when we were drafting this one.
Do they, St. Charles does?
Yes, that's where I got the number.
Okay.
So these guys are, Gary, I mean, they're an industrial user, so they're kind of out there all on their own right now. They're kind of blazing a new field, their new trail. And so, we can kind of control it the best way we can, granting them, the permission, but we can control what they do to some degree also. I mean, as you say, we don't think they're going anywhere. We don't think they're leaving Batavia, but we don't want to give them any impetus to leave either. They are going to bring a lot of jobs to our city, and their tax base, I guess, is pretty good. So I'm going to support it, but I do want to get something in writing. Obviously an ordinance somehow that we're going to control what they produce, and we don't give them any credits back.
And I agree, Mike, they are blazing a new trail, but there's going to be a lot of people, there's going to be many following that trail. It's a matter of time, I believe.
Well,
Yeah, that's why I would
That's the
strongly
fear.
encourage city council. We have a fixed contract with NIMPA, fixed in quantity, not necessarily in price, but it's a fixed quantity, and you have to meet that contract. So I would just strongly encourage council not to increase that 2% value of our system load, because we don't need more generation. We need more generation like a hole in the head. So that 2% can be all that we can do.
I agree with that, Gary. I mean, it's good, that they're looking to do the green infrastructure and sustainable infrastructure, but we need to maintain that 2% because we got to pay that bill every month. We have to take that power whether we need it or not. So I think that's a good point. Anybody else? Anyone have any other concerns or questions? So we can go ahead, can we vote on this now and then have you bring us back something to lock up a new ordinance to keep them from selling it back to us, Gary?
Sure, I can do that.
All right, anyone care to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Beck, second by Malay. Let's do a voice vote, please.
Question quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we modify that buyback, will that apply to residents as well?
No, I would, if it's okay with council, I would put the limit at that 100 kilowatt. That's, again, larger than any system that we currently have. So I think the intention is to still promote the small scale photovoltaic, but then protect the city kind of against the large scales.
This is Keenan Miller.
Go ahead,
Could we have a separate ordinance for residential, commercial, and industrial? That might take care of Mike's issue.
I think that would what we were thinking of. That's kind of how I was looking at that.
In one ordinance, though, I think it's really just a matter of adding one or two sentences to our current ordinance, and we can solve the problem.
Okay, well, I just didn't know if, like Tony said, there's probably going to be more industrial looking to do this, and we may have to separate it out later, but I didn't know if we wanted to try and do that now.
And that's why I'm hoping council will support not a whole lot more industrial, because we don't have room.
Yeah. Gary, I would like to see us, if we're going to cap that, have it at, like 50 kilowatts. So
That's
that we don't have some commercial or an industrial one that comes in at 100, and then all they're thinking about is selling off that power and reducing their own bill if they generate more than they use. Because there's some buildings out there that might actually make financial sense to somebody to go in and put a big enough unit on to generate enough that they could sell it back and cut their bill in half.
That is fine.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, right now it's at 10 kilowatts, isn't it, Gary?
Yeah, the ordinance is at 10. We have a couple of systems that are higher than that. The ordinance does allow for consideration on a case-by-case basis. So, for Rain, just to the north of City Hall, staff felt that was a worthwhile facility, and we allowed them to go larger than the ordinance. But again, we're talking reasonably larger than the ordinance value, not 1,000 times.
Right. Yeah, and I'd want to know the numbers, a net gain or loss, before I'm ready to vote on whether or not we allow them to put that big of a system out there.
So we have a motion and a second, and I hear you, Alan, so we can vote no on this and bring it back, or just table it now if someone wishes to table it, and bring it back after Gary gives us the information.
How soon are they wanting to do this? And how long a term project is that? Any ideas on that?
So they have submitted a permit, which is what prompted the formal process for us to bring it to you. So to answer your first question, I would assume as soon as they get a permit, they'll be ready to move forward. All the panels are already all prefab, so really it's just a matter of bringing them in and putting them on the roof. It goes pretty quick.
So we're talking, they could have this installed in less than a week?
This size system's pretty big, but certainly less than a month. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking.
And we do
Gary,
the
how
electric
long would
on
it
that
take?
also, Gary, correct? We do the connections.
I'm sorry.
on
So
electricians.
So in this case, it's all behind the meter. So the wires will run from the photovoltaic cells on the roof down to the inverter, which is on the private side, and then it's just connected into their panels. So none of that work is city work. That's all kind of behind the meter work.
Okay.
Gary, in
So-
regards to what Alan was saying, would there be a way to find that out before doing it at the next cow? Just like Mike had said, maybe tabling this till the next Cal because we wouldn't vote on this until 2 weeks from now for the final vote at a council.
So the only thing about that is that our next committee of the whole meeting is our budget meeting. And the one following that is election day when we're not holding a meeting. So really our next committee of the whole business session is November 10th.
Yeah, and I thought last night you said there might be some quick business items.
If we think this is a quick business item, we certainly could, but
Yeah, because I think it'll be an easy one for me to decide. If it's a net gain, I'll say yes. If it's a net loss, I might say no.
Same with Alan.
and Gary, do you feel like that's ascertainable?
Yes, I mean, you're asking me a question I'm not sure that I know the answer to because the
Right.
question come from Suncast. So does Suncast have that information, or are they willing to tell us that information? That I don't have any control over. So council knows we do have a meeting with Suncast on Thursday as part of a regular development process. Suncast is coming in to talk about their development, so we could certainly ask them during the course of that meeting to see if they can get us the numbers. And I'll just play devil's advocate for a moment. If it's a net loss, it sounded like there's going to be further discussion on behalf of city council. So it may not just be a quick item.
So,
You know, I guess my point would be is, you know, if they're going to change and add 1,200 kilowatts that they can generate on their own, but they're going to have, you know, 1,000 kilowatts of new use, I guess I could live with that. If they're going to have 1,000 or 1,200 kilowatts that they can now generate, and they're going to have 0 kilowatts added, then I might have a problem with that.
So by virtue of the fact that they're adding 5 new services to the Suncast Lane building and adding several hundred more spaces between the 2 facilities, and that they're adding 800 employees, I think that we can expect that their demand is certainly going to increase.
Going to go up.
And I can tell you, I asked, what is the reason for this increase? And they said that as an essential business during COVID, they have not only experienced an uptick in business because of the high demand for the type of products that they make, but the real issue was that the big box stores that sell this in some cases changed suppliers from what they had been using to now Suncast has their contract for the future because they have demonstrated an ability to meet the surge demand, so that it is something that will likely it will go on into the future. So it is a large increase in their business.
Laura
I
and
think
Gary.
also I think they're getting some pressure too from their people who they're purchasing their products from, who want to do more green transactions.
Yes, we had a meeting with them about that, and not only do their customers who are the demand that, but the end users as well want to know that they're buying products from a company that does things try to decrease their carbon footprint and seek renewable sources of energy.
Laura, that was going to be my question, is if they had given any reason as to why they were going solar. And with all the reasons you just explained, that's a push that a lot of companies are going for. They're hiring people to audit and track their carbon footprint. They are reporting that back to shareholders. They're reporting that back to their clients. And so I think also in terms of future businesses that are looking to relocate, I think we have to be mindful of how we're going to be able to accommodate those needs in the future too, or how we look to prospective industrial users.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's only 190 kilowatt left to generate with the photovoltaic system, so there's not much more that we're gonna be selling that to. But anyway, anybody else? I guess roll call, please.
Beth,
Aye.
Knopf,
Oh.
Jansen.
Aye.
Barron. Aye. Wolf,
No.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Callahan,
No.
Meitzler,
No.
Malay,
Aye.
Ewer, Saron,
No.
McFadden,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
and Rosado.
Aye.
Motion carried 8-5.
So Gary, you'll bring up, we have to vote on this next council meeting. You'll bring us the information, whatever you can that we requested, and it'll also have in the ordinance the written part that we wanted to change, correct?
I can get you the information regarding Suncast's load. If it's okay with council, I'd rather bring back the ordinance language, like to a different cow one time. I don't, the ordinance language
Okay.
needs to be changed before this gets approved.
Okay, that sounds good to
That'll
me.
be fine.
And Gary, one other request, could you, maybe for the last 5 years, what their load has been?
Yeah, I wrote myself a note to ask what the added load was from the last expansion.
Thank you.
Prior to the last expansion, if you recall, it was purely a warehouse and they had a small little office. So they were a very tiny electrical user prior to the last expansion.
And I
Thank you,
think,
Gary.
while it's not a net gain for us, an example of the uptick in their business, they did purchase or build a 700,000 square foot building that's located in West Chicago, just down the street. But that is warehouse space for them. So they have basically eliminated the warehouse space in both the Kirk Road and Suncast Lane facilities in order to change those two plants over to manufacturing.
Good to know.
Yep, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, next up, we will move on to item number 7, which is ordinance 20-62, surplus police vehicle. And this is actually city services. I didn't realize last night when I said I didn't have anything on the agenda, but I do have this tonight. This is one squad that is over 100,000 miles. That the police department wants to surplus because of the transmission issue. Will definitely push it over the 50% of maintenance costs on it. So if
We have
anybody has
Deputy
any questions, go ahead, Laura.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have Deputy Chief Sean Mazza on the line to speak to this.
Sure. John, you want to go ahead?
Sure. I'll just kind of summarize what you just said. And so this vehicle does exceed the 100,000 mile mark. It also exceeds the 4 years of marked fleet service. This was previously a marked patrol vehicle before we put it into use for the school resource officer, and he used it for a couple of years. It also exceeds it does actually exceed the 50% of the vehicle purchase price. It's right around 53% at this time. And as you had mentioned, we're experiencing transmission issues with the vehicle. One good thing I'll say is we just recently surplused our first 2 Ford Explorer units, and we got about $7,000 per vehicle, which is a pretty significant increase compared to the old Crown Victorias, where we were lucky to get $1,100, maybe $1,500 for. So these vehicles they're really holding their value, and we're really pleased with the amount that we got on the last two. So we're expecting to get another $7,000 for this vehicle.
That's a good thing.
Yep. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me.
Okay, thank you. I will go ahead and make the recommendation to City Council that we approve ordinance 20-62 surplus police vehicle.
Second.
Second, Rosado.
Okay, motion by Wolf, second by Rosado. Roll call, please.
Wolf,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Callahan,
Aye.
Meitzler,
Aye.
Malay,
Aye.
Ewer, Saron,
Aye.
McFadden,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Rosado,
Aye.
Beck,
Aye.
Knopf,
Aye.
Jansen,
Aye.
and Barron.
Aye.
Motion carried 13-0.
Thank you. Next up would be item number 8, which is resolution 20-113-R, authorizing execution of a 1-year renewable contract for victim and crisis services with the Association for Individual Development. Alderman Chanzit?
Thank you. So we have had this service for quite a few years, and we are very satisfied with their services. You see Sean's memo regarding this. There's a nice table showing the number of cases that they have handled for us. Again, they provide counseling services, intervention services when they when people come into contact with our police and our fire department. This is an extendable contract at 17.5. The fees will be negotiated beforehand. And I guess if anybody has any questions, Sean's here.
I just have a comment, Dan.
Yeah.
I know I think from both sides over the time I've been on city council that we've had this connection with the Association for Individual Development, both people and families that have had the help from it and the load that this has taken off of our officers and command staff at the police and fire department. This has been probably one of the best contracts or monies we've spent to be able to provide the services that are desperately needed, especially now, and, really helped our department maintain the services that they're able to provide with having this as, basically another tool in the toolbox. So I really am all for this.
No, absolutely. And I guess I would add to that during a time when you hear across the country places want to defund the police, this is an example of the city of Batavia making the investments in where they need to be, which is really proactive. Excellent. If there's no additional comment, then I would move that we approve resolution 20-113-R, authorizing the execution of a 1-year renewable contract for victim and crisis intervention services with the Association for Individual Development.
Second, Malay.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? I'll call the roll.
Jansen,
Aye.
Barron, aye. Wolf,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Callahan,
Aye.
Meitzler,
Aye.
Malay,
Aye.
Ewer, Saron,
Aye.
McFadden,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Rosato,
Aye.
Beck,
Aye.
and Knopf.
Aye.
Motion carried 13-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess, Alan, I would ask, even though it is unanimous, it would be a nice opportunity to promote the organization if we can have it on the regular agenda.
I think we should, and I definitely think it's something we should talk about.
Great, thank you.
All right, next up is item number 9, resolution 20-114-R, authorizing execution of a 1-year renewable contract with Grendel and Jansen's Law Group to provide local prosecutor services. Alderman Jansen?
Thank you. You can also see with Sean's memo, this is an extension of a contract. We have had these types of services with Grendel Jansen's back to 2016. These are for prosecution services with the Kane County Branch Court at a stipend was at $2,600 per month. And staff is recommending that we extend this another year. The agreement calls for 2 additional years without having to bring it back to council if staff continues to be satisfied with their services. Laura or Sean, did I leave anything out there?
No.
No, sir.
Okay. If there's no additional discussion, I would move that we approve resolution 20-114-R, authorizing the execution of a 1-year renewable contract with Grendel Jansen's Law Group for local prosecutorial services.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Jansen,
Aye.
Barron. Aye. Wolf,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye.
Weixler,
Aye.
Malay,
Aye.
Ewer, Saron,
Aye.
McFadden,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Rosato,
Aye.
Beck,
Aye.
and Knopf.
Aye.
Motion carried 13-0.
All right. That one we could put on the consent agenda. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Moving on then to item number 10, project status. Laura?
Yes, thank you. Unfortunately, today we received news that the governor announced that County and DuPage County, which form Region 8 for the EMS regions in the state of Illinois, have to implement mitigation measures due to the escalation of COVID-19 infection that's occurring in our area. And I think what is on everyone's mind is what we have to do to lift those mitigation measures and get back to phase 4. And here's what that looks like. The positivity rate must average less than or equal to 6.5% for 3 consecutive days. Then the region can return to phase 4. But if the positivity rate averages between 6.5% and 8%, the new mitigations will remain in place and unchanged. And if the positivity rate averages greater than or equal to 8% after 14 days, then more stringent mitigations will be applied to further reduce the spread of the virus. So it's clear that everyone has to do what they can, what's in their control to help decrease these numbers. On a personal level, everyone should wear their mask, watch their distance from others, and wash their hands frequently. For businesses, if you have not already, you should visit the Illinois Department of Commerce an economic opportunity website. Look for the guidelines that are relevant to your business. Make sure that you're following all of those guidelines in order to keep your employees and your customers safe. We are also going to be putting out some signage that people can use to remind everyone that visits their business to do their part so that we can return to phase 4 as quickly as possible. And I'd like to quote Barb Jeffers she's the executive director of our Kane County Health Department. If we work together, we can regain control of our community to get these restrictions lifted. I know the challenges of mitigation, but it's a small price to pay to wear a mask, keep your social distance, limit group sizes, wash your hands so that our community is healthy, our children can return to school, and so our economy can flourish. These are going to be hard times for our businesses who have already had to sustain earlier this year, not able to have people inside of their business, our bars and our restaurants. So in addition to taking all the measures of wearing the mask, watching our distance, and washing our hands, I'm also going to be working together with our Chamber of Commerce and our Main Street organization to encourage everyone, if you have an opportunity to buy local, buy local. Remember our places that are making food, ordering from them during this time to try to help them through this time. It's just so important. Yesterday, Barb Jeffers organized an online meeting for mayors and city administrators to let us know that unless things changed, mitigation measures would be implemented. And it was only 24 hours later when we received this notice. Fortunately, we had reached out to the school district, park district, library, Main Street, and Chamber, and all of us met together this afternoon and shared ideas on how we can coordinate efforts to speak with one voice to the community about what, number one, that we're here for you and we want to get the information in your hands that you need to try to work on these numbers and get them down. But we're going to continue to meet on a regular basis to meet the needs of the community during this trying time. And so we set up a weekly meeting that we're going to have. I think that's probably the most important thing right now. A lot of our businesses have questions. We've been fielding questions like, if I am carry out, can I allow someone to come into my business to pick up their carry out? And I believe that this is similar to the situation that was before when indoor service was not allowed. People will still be able to walk in the door of the establishment in order to collect the food that they've ordered and pay for it, but they probably shouldn't order and then sit and wait for that food to be made. The other part of this is enforcement. And that's going to require a tremendous amount of coordination between our county health departments, our county sheriff, who are the primary points of enforcement. But now we have all of these restrictions that are throughout our county. And so on a local level, we're going to have to help them with that enforcement and sort of be eyes and ears in the community to make sure that everyone is following these rules. Of course, we're going to maintain the same philosophy that we had before, which was initially, if we find someone not in compliance, it's educate and seek voluntary compliance. But when we're getting to these very dangerous levels of infection in our community, the worry is the pressure that will put on our local healthcare systems and maintaining the availability of emergency services and for ventilators for people who need those services, and to not put an overburden on the healthcare workers who are on the front lines. So that is our plan. You will be seeing communications, working closely with Griffin Price and those communication personnel from those other organizations to get our message out and get us back to phase 4.
Okay. Hopefully that happens sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions for Laura tonight?
I would add one thing, that those mitigations do not apply to schools at this point.
Right.
But I can tell you, my colleagues in the western part of the state and up near Rockford are seeing school closings left and right. On a, not by the metrics, are being shut down. So if our numbers are up in the county, we can probably expect it to be showing up in schools. And so anything we can do to mitigate that.
Absolutely. Because I know that it has been a tremendous strain on parents during this time and educators alike to try to not only shift to a brand new way of learning, but the separation and then things constantly changing. A week ago, I could not have foreseen sitting here today and this being my project status report.
Okay, does anybody have any others? If not, I'll ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. Clerk, take a voice vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Good night.
All right. Okay. See everybody next Monday night.
Thank you.